Hey, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hockey fans of all ages. Thank you for joining us on the Scabbard tonight. A day late than we expected. We were expecting the Sabres to get off last night, a nationally televised game on TNT versus the Chicago Blackhawks. I'm sure TV folks thought that this was going to be a scintillating matchup earlier before the season started. You know, the young phenom Connor Bedard comes to Buffalo versus the rising Buffalo Sabres, and I think they dodged a bullet last night, having the game snowed out and Buffalo play the game being moved today, and allowing the this game to kind of go off in relative anonymity. So I'm not sure how many folks are going to be there tonight. Um, I would assume a little bit more than what was there on Monday afternoon, Monday morning felt like. But yeah. So if you if you want to, feel free to drop comments and questions in the chat, and I'll be happy to address those during the show. With that, we'll open up the chat for comments and or questions. So yeah, let me fix something right quick. San Jose. I gotta change my graphics sometimes on the fly. But yeah, let's talk about the San Jose game because to me, this was a have to win game, and I do think that the Sabres underperformed in this game. First off, it was an incredibly sloppy game. Um, the first period had no flow whatsoever. Except I actually thought the San Jose Sharks had a better run of opportunities during the first period than the Sabres did. I think the Sabres kind of turned it around a little bit towards the end of the period. Came out better in the second period, but again, it was really sloppy. And it felt like this was going to go on forever as a 0-0 game. And then Casey Middlestat, his puck finds its way between a couple pairs of legs and uh, beats a goaltender. And yeah, so it's 1-0 at that point. Um, uh, eh, we get on the power play fairly quickly after that and score, make it 2-0, which makes you feel a little bit better. But I mean that holds until they decide to pull the goaltender at the end of the game. And good effort goal by Casey Millstat getting it to Jordan Greenway to pot the empty netter to make it 3-0. Um, Middlestat had a great game. I mean, he had a goal and 2 assists, so he factored in all 3 goals. Nice assist on the Tuck power play marker. Um, and yeah, like a great effort getting the puck over to Greenway for the empty netter. So not only a goal, but 2 primary assists to go with his night. UPL was phenomenal. There were a couple of really nice scoring chances for the San Jose Sharks. But overall, I think had we been playing any other team, we would have lost that game. San Jose is just in a really bad place right now. And, I'm not taking anything from UPL in his play of the game, but I just think that um, as bad as the Sabres came out in that game, I think they could have been down. It could have been one of those games where we're down 2-3 nothing at the end of the first intermission. Um, just how sloppy they were, and so glad they got out 0-0 from the first. They took them. I think they were over 90 minutes of game time without a goal, and finally got a goal from Middlestat to open the scoring about halfway through the game. But let's go with our stat of the night. That is UPL making 28 saves for his second shutout of the season, 3-0, and good on UPL. Does this make UPL the number one starter undisputed? I would say a couple more games, and we could make that proclamation. I mean, shown flashes. Um, he showed some flashes before he got sick, and it took him a little bit to get back. Plus, they had the three-headed monster. They were trying to get everybody time. But tonight marks the third game in a row that UPL is going to be the starter, and we'll see how it goes from here. I mean, he was left. left all alone in the I don't know. This is fourth game. Yeah, he was left all alone in that Vancouver game. Didn't get any goal support, but has played really well. And he gets the win tonight. Yes, granted, it's against Chicago. Um, he's on a streak, and let's not forget that he went really hot during the January December timeframe of December and January timeframe of last season, going into the All Star break. So hopefully he can keep it going. Let's talk about our Blackhawks game preview tonight. So Blackhawks are in town. They've been in town since yesterday. We lose kind of the advantage that the Blackhawks played the night before and came into Buffalo, so we lose the back to back advantage that Buffalo has, or would have had. But the Blackhawks are 13-29-2. They're eighth in the Central, the second worst record in the league, behind San Jose. So it's kind of nice to get those games back to back. Um, Again, this like I've said before, every game between now and the All Star break is a must win. We have to win these games. Um, maybe if we can get away with losing a game in overtime, but you got to get points in all these games. We got to be above 50 points. I would rather be at 52 points going into the All Star break. As we're seeing with other teams like Montreal, who's directly in front of us, they keep winning. So you got to keep putting pressure on these teams, and you got to eventually climb over these teams to make a difference. And the problem with Buffalo is that not only are they losing games, but they're not getting games to overtime. If you look at Montreal, like uh, 9 points are from overtime losses, or shootout losses. Toronto, Buffalo has more regulation wins than Toronto, like by 4. So it's the fact that Toronto can get games into overtime, and either win it in overtime, get the 2 points, or get the overtime point, um, to boost their standings. Um, I've long advocated getting rid of the loser point for overtime. I've long advocated saying you get to overtime, the winner gets 1 point, the loser gets nothing, and just go from there. I think the standings would look vastly different. Reward team for getting things done in regulation. Reward team for winning in overtime with a point. But if you lose a game, you lose a game and get no points. There's no Pyrrhic victory of getting a point for losing a game in overtime or a shootout. But yeah, the Connor Bedard leads the team still with 15 goals, 18 assists, 33 points, and he has not played for a minute. I mean, the New Jersey game was his last one before he got his jaw broken. He's had surgery. He's going to be out 6 to 8 weeks, missing the All Star game, missing this game, and and it's really been a rough year for the Chicago Blackhawks because it wasn't just him getting injured. They've got 8 players on the injured reserve, including uh, Nick Foligno, who got a contract extension while he's been injured. He broke a finger fighting after Bedard got hit. So that one hit cost them 2 players, 2 first line players on that team. So and we'll go through the play all the players on IR here in a minute. Let's talk about the last meeting. So November 19th, Buffalo Sabres had a 3-2 victory over the Chicago Blackhawks. It was a UPL victory, 24 saves on 26 shots. Darlene had a goal and 2 assists. Eric Johnson with the game winner about halfway through the third period in that game. Um, and Buffalo held on for the 3-2 victory. Buffalo's had a pretty good run against Chicago, but Chicago's been having issues the last few years, um, even with Patrick Kane and Jonathan Taves in the lineup. Buffalo's had a good run against them. There's that one game that one last year's the year before where Buffalo falls down 5-0 in the first 2 periods and then comes back and beats them 6-5 in regulation. So there's been some wild ones. There's of course the RJ night where they score or RJ's last game where they score in overtime. There's a lot of good stuff that's happened with Chicago in the last few years. Although we did lose to them in overtime last season, um, you can't lose points to this team. You got to take both points in this game. I don't care if it goes to overtime; just get both points in this game. Let's see. Blackhawks projected lineups tonight. A lot of who and a lot of young players that are making a name for themselves or trying to at very least. We've got Pitlick, Rempitlick, Kurashev, and Radish on that first line. Blackwell, Dickinson, Anderson on the second line. Reichel, Entwistle. Mackenzie Entwistle is like one of my favorite names in the NHL. That's a great name. Gutman, Kachuk. Watch out for Kachuk. Kachuk can bang. Um, he's probably going to be a thorn in the Sabres side tonight, along with Sanford and Donato on the fourth line. For the defensive pairings, we've got Vlasic, not Mark Edward Vlasic as we had in the last game. It's his, I don't know if it's his brother or cousin or something like that, but he is in the lineup, like with the San Jose, Vlasic in the first pair. He's paired with Seth Jones, who's recently returned from injury. Tenorti and Megna on the second pairing, and Korchinski and Phillips on the third pair of the Blackhawks blue line. In net, we're looking at Peter Mrazek. He's probably the best. I mean, he's the best goaltender. He's got, yeah, his goals against average. He's got 3.04 goals against average. Not great. Um, uh, Best record of the goaltenders. He's actually got a over 900 save percentage. So it's for him. It's a combination of the fact that the Blackhawks aren't scoring for anything. Three of their last four games, I think they've only scored one goal in each. They did get victory against San Jose the other night, the one before they came to Buffalo, in a shootout, a 9-round shootout, 2-1. But the three games prior to that, they only scored a goal in each of those games, losing all of them. So yeah, 3.04 goals against average is not great, but over 900 save percentage when you're allowing that many goals means you're facing a ton of shots. So Sabres are going to want to do the same thing. Lots of shots to the net. Try and get to Mrazek early. And this team, I don't think you can do the same thing you did with San Jose in, uh, letting them hang around for half a game. I think they've got enough guys. I mean, yes, most of their quality players are injured, but they got guys that can put the puck in the net. So don't sleep on this team. Don't think you can sleepwalk halfway through this game and come out unscathed. The injured reserve, the mass unit for the Chicago Blackhawks, you got Taylor Hall, Andreas Athanasiou, Connor Bedard, Nick Foligno, Tyler Johnson, Anthony Beauvillier, Connor Murphy, and Nikita Zaitsev. So all these are solid, established NHL players that are a scratch for the Blackhawks. Now, granted, they were struggling with a lot of these guys in the lineup. There was just too much change in the Blackhawks lineup in the offseason for it to really gel and become a quality team, year one. But yeah, that's hard to uh, deal with that many man games lost and to the quality of players that they've lost out of their lineup. Again, this is a game that the Sabres have to win. They have to beat this team. Anything else is just start planning for the draft. Sabres projected four lines. There's changes because Dylan Cousins is out of the lineup tonight. He is day to day with an injury. Zach Benson, Thompson, and Tuck on the first line. Gergensons, Middlestat, and Quinn on the second line. That's an interesting line. Robinson, Krebs, Paterka. Then Olafson drawing back into the lineup after a few games off with Greenway and Okposo on that line. I don't know that those are how you would number them. I would probably have that Olafson line, third line, Krebs, Robinson, Paterka. I don't know, fourth line maybe. Not that I think that Paterka is a fourth liner, but yeah, this is an interesting lineup that we're seeing. We did see Granato really tinker with the lines during that San Jose game. Pulling Zach Benson up to that first line. Demoting Middlestat down to the second line. It worked for Middlestat. He really played well after that. So we'll see how this works out. I'm not a real fan of changing the lines this drastically, but getting 3 goals against San Jose, they probably should have dropped 6 on them. Um, just because they're that bad. I mean, it's just they're you want to be kind because former Saber Mike Greer is the GM of the team, and you don't want to run them too hard. They're definitely going through some struggles, but this is a team you need to drop a lot of goals on, and they really didn't do that in that game. So that necessitated or precipitated the forward line changes for this game, and that's what we'll see tonight. For the defense pairings, let's take a look. There's no changes here. We've got Darlene and Yoki Haru on the first pair. Eric Johnson is with Owen Power on the second pair. Ryan Johnson is with Clifton on the third pair. Samuelson is still day to day. My guess is it was a concussion. He's a concussion protocol, and we'll wait to see what happens with him. That could be a week, could be 10 days, could be 2 months. Who knows? Hopefully, it's not that bad. Sabres goalies, as I mentioned earlier, Luukkonen is slated to get the start tonight. Um, it's going to start. I think if you see Luukkonen continue to get starts, there's going to be more questions about Devin Levi's immediate future with the Buffalo Sabres. Again, as a young player that he needs to develop by playing. Um, the other thing is pushing is Comrie's not playing bad in Rochester. So maybe I mean he had we'll get to the farm report, but had a shutout in his last game. Um, not horrible, not great, but at least I wouldn't feel horrible about having him as the backup here with Lucan as the starter. But that's a conversation for a later time. But if Levi doesn't start getting some starts, and there is a back to back on the West Coast road trip, so I expect him to get one of those starts. But yeah, Lukanen has really kind of staked his claim to that number one position. All right, Saber scratches tonight. Jeff Skinner still on IR. That is a retroactive. They put him on IR before the last game. Called up Cale Clegg to take his roster spot. Clegg was sent back down after the San Jose game. They just recalled Jacob Bryson from Rochester. I don't think he's going to be there in time for the game tonight, but he has been called up to supplement in case there is an issue where they need to do like an 11-7 or something along those lines. They with Samuelson being out, they'll have that extra buffer there. Skinner, they're expecting him back maybe on Saturday before we go on the West Coast road trip, but if not Saturday, certainly before the All-Star break when the 3 games on the West Coast. All right, tonight's odds per DraftKings. Play responsibly. Buffalo is a goal and a half favorite in this game, and the over/under is 6. So you have to hope the teams combine for 6 or more goals, which is we haven't seen 6 very often. For Buffalo, there was a 5.5 game earlier this season. I think it was Boston game. Um, for me, I think it's the fact that the Sabres have had problems scoring, even though they got 3 against San Jose. They really struggled to score in that game. Uh, the game before didn't score, and have had 10 games this season where they've gotten 2 or fewer than 2 goals in those games. Um, so about a quarter of the season they've gone with just like 1 or 2 goals, 1 goal or less in the game. So let's see keys to the game. Let's talk. It's essentially the same thing as Monday. Show up ready to play. They did not do that Monday. Score early and often. They did not do that Monday. Do not let the Blackhawks hang around. They did not do that Monday. They got the win. They're lucky. It was San Jose. To an extent, they're lucky it's Chicago, but I don't want to tempt fate too often. You've got to start on time. You've got to go from puck drop and continue to keep that consistency throughout the game rather than, hopefully still being in the game when you get to the midway point of the game and you start getting desperate. That's what we have been seeing from the Sabres for a while, and it's very frustrating, and it's a major reason why they are below NHL 500 at this point. On this date, January 18th, 2008, Derek Roy and Drew Stafford each had hat tricks. as they beat down the Atlanta Thrashers 10-1. Rip Atlanta Thrashers. Maybe they're coming back. I don't know. It was the 12th time in franchise history that two Sabres hit for a hat trick on the same game. So, done. It's been done quite a bit. Let's see. Third string should be able to mop up Chicago. Uh, they should be, Heidi. I think they. But I've seen enough from this team this season to know that the they like to perform to the level of their competition. They'll play great against great teams, but then they just stink up the joint against garbage teams, and they've done this for a couple of years. It's tough to watch, but with as many injured players for the Chicago Blackhawks, they should be able to do that. But I thought that they should have been able to do that against San Jose. I mean, not just the fact that San Jose is trash this season, but San Jose was playing at 12 o'clock, so it was 9 o'clock San Jose time when this game got kicked off. And they came out the fresher team. Now, yes, San Jose's been on the East Coast road trip, but still, it's hard to prepare for a game that early when you're on the West Coast. I mean, it still takes you some time to get your body acclimated. Yeah, you're acclimated to playing at 7 o'clock on the East Coast. 4 o'clock is not horribly early, but if you're playing at 9 o'clock local, I mean, these guys haven't done that since they were, uh, peewees, where they had to get the ice time at 9 a.m. to get their games done. Yeah, they are inexplicable. I wish I knew what the hell was going on with them. They have huge potential. They have great players. Um, I think I could probably do a whole show on why I think that why the season's gone the way it has. I think uh, Don Granato heard all off season that Buffalo had bad defense and bad goaltending. So he tried to institute a more defensive style of hockey in the offseason, and it just did not gel with the skill set of this team. Now, we've tried to switch things up and go back to that more run and gun style, and there's been some hiccups, but it's the same stuff that we saw last year. Lots of odd man rushes. Uh, you know, uh, Devin Levi in his last start was just absolutely lit up. I don't know that he's ready to play for a team that is in front of him that plays like that. So um, that's the short answer. I think is because we tried to do a defensive system at the beginning of the season that we kind of messed up everybody's chemistry. All right, let's talk about Farm Report. Amherst 17-13-3-1, fourth in the AHL North. They bombed Lehigh Valley. The Phantoms, Philadelphia's AHL affiliate, on Wednesday, 6-0. Comrie with a 32 save shutout at first star of the game. And they had six different goal scorers. None of them named Roseanne or Kulik, although Kulik and Roseanne did have an assist on one of the goals. They do play Utica on Friday, so that's the New Jersey Devils top farm club. Going down to the ECHL, the Icemen are 19-14-3 and third in the ECHL Eastern Conference South Division. Brandon Harris, the Icemen's leading scorer, had 2 assists in the brace yourselves 18-11 win in the ECHL All Star game. The ECHL All Stars played the Savannah Ghost Pirates team in the All Star game. It's interesting. I mentioned this in the last broadcast. So the way that they do the All Star break is there's like one, maybe two representatives per team sent to play for one team versus the home team of the All Star that hosts the All Star game. Not much defense, as you can tell. 18-11. I'm not sure there were goaltenders. But the other weird thing is that there is no All-Star break. They were playing games like other teams were playing in the ACHL or playing games at the same time as the All-Star game. So, um, I guess the teams just took it on the chin for the lost player that they didn't have playing that night. But there were like 3 other games that were going on at the same time as the All-Star game. But yeah, 18-11 is probably like a good baseball game, a no-hitter. But the Icemen take on Atlanta, the National Predators ECHL farm team on Friday. Week ahead, we've got Tampa coming into town on Saturday. It's a matinee game, very early. Show will be very early. Anaheim on the 23rd. That's at Anaheim, 23rd, so that's going to be late night. The Scabbard after dark at I think it's 10 o'clock start, either 10 or 10:30 for these next three games. Los Angeles, January 24th. So I'm expecting Devin Levi to get one of those two games. I don't know that I would throw him to the Wolves with Los Angeles. I would probably let him take that Anaheim game and then have UPL play Los Angeles and then wrap up the road trip uh, with a start at San Jose on the 27th and see how it goes from there. My hope is that we win all these games heading into the All-Star break and kind of put ourselves into at least it's not a great position, but at least a position, a better position than we are right now. Next episode, as I mentioned, Saturday, 11:30 a.m., hour before game time, 12:30 start for that game against the Tampa Bay Lightning. This is a very important game. This is absolutely a must-win because Tampa is a team that we're chasing. Tampa has struggled a little bit. Tampa, we've had some decent games against Tampa the last few seasons. Um, it feels like the Sabres are kind of getting in a place where Tampa is not a guaranteed loss every night, every time we play them. So, um, but yeah, in this case, we have to beat Tampa. We got to gain 2 points on them. As I said, teams in front of us are continuing to win and making it more difficult, no matter how well we play, to catch them. But anyway, that is the show for tonight. Thank you, Heidi, for comments. Thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. Give us a like, share, subscribe on whatever platform you're on. Helps boost the algorithm. And we'll talk to you all Saturday morning at 11:30. Have a great one, everybody.